Hey there, Dr. Avinash here. Let's talk about the most important antifungal drug. Now, you only have to do one important one, that's amphotericin B. All the others are really not important. I'll help you out with that from the chapter itself, from the textbook itself. But as of now, let's focus on amphotericin B. Now, for that, we need to have a little understanding of the fungal morphology and how it is. Okay, and which I will explain to you as we go ahead with this topic. Amphotericin B was extracted from a fungus, Streptomyces nodosus. This is actually a polyene antibiotic molecule. This is a macrocyclic ring. Look at the big ring it has, and if you notice, this ring is very unique. Very unique. It has, you know, uh, on one side several conjugated double bonds. That part, the part here, the double bonded part, will be all hydrophobic. It will hate water. Okay, or you can say lipophilic. It is dissolving in lipids. And the second part here, with lot of OH groups, this part would love water, that is hydrophilic. So one part hydrophilic, one part lipophilic, and that is the structure of amphotericin B. Now what about this part here? That part is actually an amino sugar and a carboxylic acid group. Okay, sometimes there is an amino sugar at one end, and the other end, as you can see here, there is a carboxylic acid, COOH, would be present at some other group, which is really not important, but you just have to know that this is the kind of structure. Now they are actually insoluble in water and unstable in aqueous medium. Okay, they are not water soluble as such. Now with this in mind, let us understand how these might be working. Okay, just have a look at this particular diagram. The polyene antibiotics have affinity for ergosterol. Ergosterol is a kind of lipid present in the fungal cell membrane. They combine with it and they get inserted into the membrane. And what is shown in this diagram is many polyene molecules get attached to these ergosterol substance, present in the the fungal cell wall. Now many stick. What happens is the ergosterol is lipid, so all the lipid binding site, they come, the lipid loving part, they come together, and as a result in the center it is all water loving part. So all the lipophilic part, they arrange themselves in such a manner that they are combining with each other. So all these molecules of antibiotic, the amphotericin B, get inserted into membrane, and they orient themselves in such a way that in the center is a small hole, a micropore, and this pore is made up of the hydrophilic site. Getting it? So from here water molecules can easily enter, ions can go in and out. So this central part is where all the things are happening. Things can go in, things can come out. The membrane permeabilization takes place, and because of that the fungal cell starts to lose all the important substances, ions, amino acid, water soluble substances just go out, and that's the reason why the fungus can die. Okay, so permeability is increasing. Now we also have a kind of lipid called as cholesterol that looks like ergosterol, which means amphotericin B can bind to our cell membrane also. The only thing is amphotericin B likes ergosterol more, cholesterol less, and hence it destroys fungus more and human cells less. Nonetheless, it can destroy human cells, and as a result it's toxic. So which fungi are affected? Aspergillus. Second is Blastomyces dermatitidis. C stands for Candida albicans, Cryptococcus neoformans, and Coccidioides immitis. And then Rho for Rhodoto Turella, H for Histoplasma capsulatum, T for Turulopsis, S for Sporothrix. So I remember it as ABC Rohit Sharma. Okay, Rohit Sharma is a pretty famous cricketer, Indian cricketer. I believe you know him. He's also the captain of Mumbai Indians. So ABC Rohit Sharma is a pretty good mnemonic here. So you can remember it that way. All these fungus are definitely inhibited. Okay, they're killed actually. As far as the pharmacokinetics concerned, it's not absorbed orally, so have to give it. So you can give it directly like that for intestinal, candidiasis. But given IV, you have to mix it with deoxycholate. So it's a deoxycholate suspension only. Then it can enter into our cells, into our blood. Otherwise, it will not enter. Kind of mix with our blood. The T-half is around 15 days. The side effects are amazingly important, and we are going to use the name amphotericin as a mnemonic to understand the side effects. These are A for anemia, M for muscle spasm, P for phlebitis. Phlebitis is inflammation of the vein. So whichever vein we are giving IV, that vein undergoes inflammation. HO for headache, hypotension and hypokalemia. You can remember it that way. Tericin, T, thrombocytopenia. E for emesis, that's vomiting and encephalopathy. R for respiratory stridor. I for increase in temperature. C for chills, immediate hypersensitivity. N for nephrotoxicity, and B for bronchospasm. So simple, so easy to remember now that you know all the important side effects. Isn't that so? So please remember this properly. This might come as an odd question in your exams. So that's why you need to do it. Now at this point of time, I would also like you to have a look at the textbook, because some odd questions from there, here and there, I would like to finish it for you. Okay, so let's start with that. Chapter number 58 from our textbooks, we are talking about antifungals. And the only important drug you have to do, actually speaking, is amphotericin B, but we will be doing a little extra. So I'll tell you which all extra we are going to do. Okay, the classification becomes ultra important, so please do it properly. Otherwise, you will lose marks unnecessarily. The Pauline antibiotic is amphotericin B. And now you might remember the diagram that I had shown you. Streptomyces nodosus, mechanism of action. Think about the Pauline antibiotic, which is a macrocyclic ring. One side several conjugated double bonds, lipophilic, other side hydrophilic, many OH groups and a polar amino sugar, and sometimes a carboxylic acid is present at one of the ends. Insoluble in water, unsuitable in aqueous medium. They have affinity for ergosterol in the fungal cell membrane. Combine with it, get inserted in the membrane, and then orient themselves to form a micropore. And the center of this micropore is the hydrophilic side, through which ions, amino acids, and other substances move out. And the membrane sterol itself support this pore. Okay. The amphotericin B molecules on the lipophilic side, they are the outer surface of the pore. The cell permeability increases, and that's how the fungal cell dies. Cholesterol resembles ergosterol. It's present in our cell membranes. Pauline binds to that, but with lesser affinity, and that's the reason why it's more working on fungus, but the selectivity is very less. Amphotericin B is one of the most toxic systemic used antibiotic ever. So this is still the least toxic of all the pollens. Bacteria are not having sterol, so they are not affected. The next thing that you have to do is antifungal spectrum, where I gave you the mnemonic ABC Rohit Sharma. You can just enumerate that. That would help you a lot. And the pharmacokinetics, I already spoke about how you can give it orally. Because it's not absorbed orally, you can give it for candidiasis without any systemic toxicity. And IV suspension with deoxycholate. DOC is deoxycholate, not drug of choice. Okay, it's widely distributed in the body, but it does not cross the CSF. Okay, at least that much you should remember, please. And then they have given you the uses. So this is kind of their way of representing what I try to draw. Okay, it's completely up to you. You want, you can, otherwise fine, check it. Okay, so adverse reactions we have seen, where we use the word amphotericin, and go through this please. This is going to be very very important. Okay, the next medicine that you have to do, don't do caspofungin, nobody's interested in that. I would directly jump to griseofulvin. I'll just directly explain it from you. It is fungistatic for dermatophytes. So skin infection causing fungus, epidermophyton, trichophyton and microsporum, not against any other. Bacteria will not. Dermatophytic activity is important because they can concentrate griseofulvin. So they are selectively more toxic. So how does griseofulvin works? It interferes with mitosis. The multinucleated and stunted fungal hyphae are produced. Metaphase is not stopped. Daughter nuclei fails to move apart or moves only a short distance because of griseofulvin. So the cell division does not take place properly. Probably it interferes with the microtubule formation and its function. And it's used orally only for dermatophytosis. So the idea is you give it, it will go throughout the body, it deposit in the skin, from there the fungus will pick it up and then it stops the growth of the fungus. It's not cidal, it's static. The good thing is the new keratin form will not be invaded. And you know the fact that the top layer of the skin is eventually shed off. So the fungus will remain in the infected keratin until it's shed off. So depends on the site of infection you're looking at and the thickness of the infected keratin and its turnover time. So it cannot be given topically, it has to be given orally only. So if you have a patient with scalp infection, 4 weeks of treatment. Palms and soles, 6 to 8 weeks of treatment. Fingers and nails are involved. Fingernails are involved, 6 to 8 months of treatment, and toenails 10 to 12 months of treatment. Okay. Majority of local tinea infections should be treated with topical agent. Griseofulvin should only be for like a lot of area is involved. For something small like 10 by 10 centimeter area is involved. Don't subject the entire body to it. Right? Simple. So that is what you can remember. Many people confuse between clotrimazole and clotrimazole. So clotrimazole is sulfonamide plus trimethoprim. Clotrimazole is an antifungal. Now there is no mechanism of action given here, so don't be in a hurry to do that. These are imidazoles, topical. Ketoconazole can be used orally and topical both. Okay, now you directly jump here. These azoles, these chemicals act by inhibiting fungal enzyme cytochrome P450. The enzyme's name is lanosterol 14-demethylase. This enzyme is important for ergosterol synthesis. No ergosterol, no cell membrane. No cell membrane, a series of reactions happen, cascading effect happens on the membrane becomes abnormal, and that is what happens. See, we humans have lower toxicity to triazoles compared to imidazoles because we don't concentrate it and our enzymes do not have that much affinity for this drug. So here, please have a look at clotrimazole. Very very important. It's the most commonly used topical imidazole, effective in treatment of tinea infection like ringworm. 60 to 100% cure rates within 2 to 4 weeks of application. You just have to apply 2 times a day. Everything that you can remember as far as ringworms, athlete foot, otomycosis, oral, cutaneous, vaginal candidiasis, all of them respond. Actually, it is favored for vaginitis because it has long lasting residual effect. So even once daily application inside the vagina, it kind of works for a long period of time. A 7-day course is used. For oropharyngeal candidiasis, we have something called as a 10 mg troch of clotrimazole. You just put it in the mouth, it will slowly and gradually dissolve. 3 to 4 times a day it's used. That also works. Or you can use lotion or gel, or you can just kind of gargle it a little bit. That also works. Okay, effective for infections by Corynebacterium. So this is the first one we have spoken about that works on Corynebacteria. This is it. Uh, Miconazole is quite famous, so you can remember that also. And please remember ketoconazole. Okay, ketoconazole is the first orally effective broad-spectrum antifungal drug. Can be used in dermatophytes plus deep mycosis, but nowadays newer triazoles are there. If there is gastric acidity, ketoconazole gets absorbed properly. Adverse effects, more adverse effect as compared to the others, itraconazole and fluconazole: nausea, vomiting, loss of appetite, headache, paresthesia, rashes, hair loss. The most important drawback that you cannot miss is hormonal effect. It decreases androgen production from testes and displaces testosterone from its protein binding site, which means the males will now do not have active testosterone, gynecomastia, loss of hair and libido, and oligozoospermia can happen within a few weeks. In females, it is known to cause menstrual irregularities because of this, suppression of estradiol synthesis. Plus, a dose-dependent serum hydrocortisone level decrease is seen because of synthesis inhibition. You don't have to do all of these things. Effective in dermatophytosis because it is concentrated in stratum corneum, but it's restricted because of adverse effects. We use it as lotions or shampoos, pretty effective in seborrhea of scalp and dandruff. And if you know a disease called as pityriasis versicolor in a limited area of skin, you can even give topical application for this. Weekly treatment has to be continued for preventing recurrence. Now, just like ketoconazole, fluconazole can be done, like just read once, that's more than sufficient. Nobody is going to ask you too many questions from this chapter. But please do ketoconazole, and if possible, please also do fluconazole. These are important topics. And itraconazole is also just broader spectrum, but just like ketoconazole. So you can probably do this extra in case you have time. Otherwise, skip all of this. Okay, nobody is going to ask you anything from here, not at all. So if you do this much, your chapter is done. I hope you understood how these drugs work. Don't miss amphotericin B. Okay, till the next time we meet, this is Dr. Avinash signing off for now. Take care, keep studying and keep rocking, and let me know if you have any more doubts. Bye.